The name is Flicks, Business Flicks, and here are 60 ultimate James Bond facts all the way from Dr. No to Spectre. There have been a total of 1,392 deaths, of which Bond has killed 415 people. This gives us an average of 59 deaths per movie, with Bond killing an average of 16 people. Bond has kissed a total of 73 times and slept with 56 women. Of these 56 women, 3/4 have tried to kill him and 1/3 have ended up dead. Author Ian Fleming might as well be James Bond. Both prefer coffee to tea, smoke the same kind of cigarettes, were commanders in the British Navy, love women, and prefer their martini shaken, not stirred. And did I mention Fleming was once a spy? While serving under British Naval Intelligence, Fleming was the personal assistant to Admiral John Godfrey, who is possibly the inspiration for M. Sean Connery was once pulled over and fined by a British police officer for speeding. The officer's name was Sergeant James Bond. President Kennedy is a big contributor to Bond's success in the United States. In a 1961 interview with Life magazine, he mentioned that From Russia with Love was one of his most favorite novels. Consequently, the novel's sales boomed and the next Bond film made was From Russia with Love. Coincidentally, this was also the last film watched by the president, as he watched it a day before leaving for that fateful Texas trip. Kennedy was such an admirer of Fleming's creativity that he even included Fleming in conversations about defeating Fidel Castro. You Only Live Twice is the only movie where Bond does not drive a car. The Aston Martin Dbs V12 with a top speed of 191 miles per hour is the fastest car driven by Bond. Casino Royale featured the Dbs V12 in a car barrel roll stunt, which broke the world record for the most barrel rolls assisted by a cannon, with the car completing 7 full rolls. Goldfinger was the first film in history to feature a laser beam.
Would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What
Shaken, not stirred.
We know he loves his martini shaken, not stirred, and martinis appear a total of 27 times in the 24 films. The martini that Bond drinks is called Vesper Martini, and one cannot make a true James Bond martini anymore. This is because the martini is made of
3 measures of Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half a measure of quinoa lillet, shake it over ice, and then add a thin slice of lemon peel.
And quinoa lillet was discontinued and reformulated in 1986. The only Bond films to win Oscars are Skyfall for sound editing and original song, Goldfinger for sound effects, and Thunderball for visual effects. German actor Gert Frobe turned out to be a real headache for the makers of Goldfinger. The producers were unaware of the fact that the actor didn't speak English and went on to hire him. Gert Frobe's voice then had to be dubbed. The second shocker came when the film was banned in Israel. This was because it was found that Frobe had been a member of the Nazi Party during World War II. The ban, however, was lifted when a Jewish family publicly thanked the actor for protecting them during the conflict.
Shocking.
The screenplay for You Only Live Twice was written by Roald Dahl, who is best known for writing children's books such as Matilda and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. As far as the novels are concerned, the Beretta M418, which is a 6.35mm pocket pistol, was James Bond's gun of choice until a fan wrote Ian Fleming a letter saying it was a lady's gun with no real stopping power. So to make things more practical, Fleming adopted more powerful weapons in his subsequent novels.
Take off your jacket. Give me your gun. Yes, I thought so. This damn Beretta again. I've told you about this before. You tell him. For the last time.
Nice and light. In a lady's handbag. No stopping power.
Then from now on you carry a different gun. Show him, Amra.
Walther Ppk. 7.65 mil with a delivery like a brick through a plate glass window.
Roger Moore plays James Bond in 7 films, and each scene that shows him running was performed by a body double. This was because Moore felt that he looked awkward while running. One can imagine Roger Moore to be the least ideal candidate to play the role of James Bond, as he suffered from hoplophobia, which is a fear associated with firearms. While in the novels, Bond smokes up to 70 cigarettes a day. The last time he smoked in a movie was in 2002's Die Another Day. Roger Moore's daughter has a cameo in Die Another Day as a stewardess. From Clint Eastwood to Mel Gibson, a bunch of actors have declined the role of James Bond, including Liam Neeson. He was offered the role in 1995 for GoldenEye but turned it down because he wasn't interested in action movies. A change of heart found him doing Star Wars Episode 1, and action movies thereafter became his forte. While under contract to play James Bond, Pierce Brosnan wasn't allowed to wear a tuxedo in any non-Bond film. The infamous crocodile jump by James Bond in Live and Let Die was performed with real crocodiles. The only person willing to attempt the stunt was Ross Kananga, the owner of the crocodile farm. The writers, in gratitude, thus named the film's villain Kananga.
Now this one I'm particularly keen about. You see the gear lever here? Now if you take the top off, you'll find a little red button. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
No, why not?
Because you'll release this section of the roof and engage and fire the passenger ejector seat. Whoosh.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
The record for the most times a single actor has played the same role in a film series is held by Desmond Llewellyn, who played Q 17 times.
Morning, Q. Sorry about the leg. Skiing?
Hunting.
Remember the fan who sent Fleming a letter saying that the Beretta M418 was a lady's gun? Well, that fan's name was Geoffrey Boothroyd and was a retired army major. Fleming extended his gratitude to this fan by naming Agent Q as Major Boothroyd. Thus, Q's real name is Major Boothroyd and is mentioned only in Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and The Spy Who Loved Me. The Walther Ppk gun that Bond adorns is the same model of gun that Hitler used to commit suicide. When Fleming visited Jamaica during World War II, he bought an estate which he named GoldenEye. He wrote many of his 14 novels there, and the 17th Bond film was named after this estate. Producer Cubby Broccoli found Sean Connery ideal for the role of James Bond. To verify that Connery was attractive to women, Broccoli took his wife to the screening of Darby O'Gill and the Little People. Mrs. Broccoli was impressed, and that's how Sean Connery became the first ever James Bond. In each and every appearance as Bond, Sean Connery wore a hairpiece. While filming a fight scene in Diamonds Are Forever, actor Joe Robinson accidentally pulled off the hairpiece. The 00 section of MI6 is considered the most elite department, and agents of this department, as you guessed it, are named with a 00. The special privilege of a 00 agent is that they hold a license to kill, which gives them complete freedom to kill anyone in order to complete the mission. Bond was 38 when he became a 00 agent. Agents 002, 3, 4 and 9 have been killed, while 006 was the villain in GoldenEye. Agents 001 and 005 have never been mentioned of, and 008 is Bond's replacement in the event of his death. In Daniel Craig's James Bond films, M's real name is Olivia Mansfield. M's house in Skyfall is the former home of John Barry, the composer behind Bond's iconic music. By murdering M, Raul Silva became the first Bond villain to succeed at their primary objective. Raul Silva is an anagram for rival soul. Fleming chose the name James Bond because he wanted a name as mundane as possible. He was a keen bird watcher and owned a book called Birds of the West Indies by ornithologist Dr. James Bond, which served as the source for the name. John Dee was a 16th century English polymath and is one of the inspirations for James Bond. He would sign his letters to Queen Elizabeth I with a 007 glyph to signify that they were for her eyes only. 007 was the bus route used by Ian Fleming, which ran between Canterbury and London. Quantum of Solace is the only film in the series that is considered to be a direct sequel. MI6 is not a fictional organization. United Kingdom's Foreign Intelligence Service is known as MI6 or Secret Intelligence Service (SIS). Its existence wasn't officially acknowledged by the British government until 1994. Dr. No and The Man with the Golden Gun are the only movies that do not feature a helicopter. The 5 pilots from Pussy Galore's flying circus in Goldfinger were actually men wearing blonde wigs. Bond is fluent in French, Italian, German and Russian, is handy with Greek, Spanish, Chinese and Japanese, and has a degree in Oriental languages. The Corkscrew Car Jump in The Man with the Golden Gun was performed in one take and was the first ever stunt to be planned with computer modeling. Richard Keel, who played Jaws in The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, could keep those metal teeth in his mouth for only 30 seconds. The chain that he bit through in The Spy Who Loved Me was made of licorice. The most number of people killed by Bond in a movie is 47 in GoldenEye, and the least kills by Bond happens to be in The Man with the Golden Gun, where he kills just one person. As far as total deaths are concerned, You Only Live Twice had the most deaths at 196, whereas Dr. No had the least at 12. Sammy Davis Jr. filmed a deleted cameo for Diamonds Are Forever, and in the scene, he was at the casino playing roulette. A movie was made in 1967 as a spoof of James Bond. The movie was called OK Connery and starred Sean Connery's brother, Neil. At the 1 hour 16 minute mark in From Russia with Love, the train Bond is a passenger on passes an old man. This is said to be Ian Fleming in a rare cameo. In Thunderball, we see Connery underwater in a shark tank for several minutes. This fooled the British Army into thinking that Connery was actually underwater for that long with the help of that little oxygen tank. So they called the movie makers to inquire about the technology, only to find that the several minutes underwater was due to the movie editing. In Thunderball, an experiment rocket fuel was used to blast the villain's yacht. The crew, unaware of the fuel's capability, used too much of it and created a huge explosion. The explosion was so severe that it shattered windows 30 miles within the Nassau Bay area. Only films released by Eon Productions are considered as official Bond films, thus Never Say Never Again, Casino Royale of 1954 and 1967 do not qualify as official Bond films. Sean Connery had decided that 1971's Diamonds Are Forever would be his last film as Bond and that he never again would play the role of Bond. Ironically, when he returned in 1983 as none other than James Bond, the film's title was chosen keeping the old incident in mind. To prepare himself for the role in Never Say Never Again, Sean Connery took martial arts lessons from Steven Seagal. While training Connery, Seagal got so pissed that he broke Connery's wrist. When questioned about his terminal cancer and impending death, musician Warren Zevon stated that he wanted to live long enough to see the next James Bond movie. He lived long enough to see the ironically named Die Another Day. David Bowie was originally lined up to play the villainous Max Zorin in A View to a Kill. Daniel Craig was given 85 copies of Tom Ford suits for the opening sequence of Skyfall. Skyfall was the first Bond film to exceed the $1 billion mark, but when adjusted for inflation, Thunderball 2 exceeds the $1 billion mark. Considering the fact that Thunderball had 1/3 the budget of Skyfall, it is the most successful 007 film so far. Sean Connery never traveled to the United States to film Goldfinger. Every scene where he appears to be in the United States was actually in Pinewood Studios outside London. This explains why Bond flips a light switch down to discover the golden corpse of Jill, as English light switches are generally turned on by flicking them down instead of up like the American switches. 1965's Thunderball and 1983's Never Say Never Again are the only Bond films with the same plot. This is because the plot for Thunderball was co-written by Fleming, writer Jack Whittingham, and producer Kevin McClory, but was later abandoned. Fleming, however, went on to novelize the plot but gave McClory and Whittingham no credit. Thus, McClory filed a copyright claim and upon winning was given two key powers. The first being production credit for the movie Thunderball, and the second being the right to produce a different film of the same story once 10 years had passed since Thunderball's release. So 18 years later, we got Never Say Never Again. Ian Fleming wrote Bond: An Obituary for You Only Live Twice. From it, we learned that Bond's parents were Andrew Bond, a Scottish man, and Monique Decleroy, a Swiss woman. Andrew Bond worked for a weapons company and travelled often with his family. Both parents died when Bond was 11. He lived with an aunt in England, studied at Eton and Feats College in Edinburgh, graduated from high school at 17, and was recruited into the Royal Navy. The family's motto is, "The world is not enough."